Hello to all my friends out there today. Connie's very excited today because we're going to start reading a new book, a really famous book. It's called The Magic Pudding. And I'm going to divide it up into 3 sections. So you can read it, you can listen to it on 3 separate occasions. That'll be fun, won't it, Connie? This book's written by Norman Lindsay, a very famous artist, Australian artist. The Magic Pudding. This is a frontways view of Bunyip Bluegum and his uncle Whortleberry. Can you see what sort of animals they are? That's right, they're koalas. At a glance, you can see what a fine, round, splendid fellow Bunyip Bluegum is, without me telling you. At a second glance, you can see that the uncle is more square than round, and that his face has whiskers on it. Did you see the whiskers? What a fine pair of koalas they are. Looked at sideways, you can still see what a splendid fellow Bunyip is, though you can only see one of his uncle's whiskers. Observed from behind, however, you completely lose sight of the whiskers and so fail to realise how immensely important they are. In fact, these very whiskers were the chief cause of Bunyip's leaving home to see the world. For, as he often said to himself, "Whiskers alone are bad enough, attached to faces coarse and rough. But how much greater their offence is when stuck on uncles' countenances." And there's a picture of Bunyip Bluegum and his uncle sideways, and Bunyip Bluegum and his uncle from behind, and you can't see the whiskers any longer. I don't think Bunyip Bluegum likes whiskers. The plain truth was that Bunyip and his uncle lived in a small house in a tree, and there was no room for the whiskers. What was worse, the whiskers were red and they blew about in the wind, and Uncle Whortleberry would insist on bringing them to the dinner table with him, where they got in the soup. Oh my goodness, can you see those whiskers in the soup? The tiny little house they have. Bunyip Bluegum was a tidy bear, and he objected to whisker soup, so he was forced to eat his meals outside, which was awkward. And besides, lizards came and borrowed his soup. His uncle refused to listen to reason on the subject of his whiskers. It was quite useless giving him hints, such as presents of razors and scissors and boxes of matches to burn them off. On such occasions he would remark, "Shaving may add an air that's somewhat brisker. For dignity, commend me to the whisker." Or, when deeply moved, he would exclaim, "As noble thoughts the inward being grace, so noble whiskers dignify the face." So Bunyip Bluegum would love the whiskers to come off, but the uncle's not having any of it. Prayers and entreaties to remove the whiskers were no avail. Bunyip decided to leave home without more ado. The trouble was that he couldn't make up his mind whether to be a traveller or a swagman. You can't go about the world being nothing, but if you're a traveller, you have to carry a bag. While if you're a swagman, you have to carry a swag. And the question is, which is heavier? Here's Bunyip Bluegum pondering that question. Traveller or swaggy? At length he decided to put the matter before Egbert Rumpus Bumpus, the poet, and ask his advice. He found Egbert busy writing poems on a slate. He was so busy that he only had time to sing out, "Don't interrupt the poet, friend, until his poem's at an end." Here he is, Egbert Rumpus Bumpus, writing poetry. I love poetry. And he went on writing harder than ever. He wrote all down one side of the slate and all up the other, and then remarked, "And there's no time to finish that. The time has come to have our chat. Be quick, my friend, your business state, before I take another slate." "Well, the fact is," said Bunyip, "I have decided to see the world, and I cannot make up my mind whether to be a traveller or a swagman. Which would you advise?" "Then," said the poet, "as you've no bags, it's plain to see a traveller you cannot be. And as a swag you haven't either, you cannot be a swagman neither. For travellers must carry bags, and swagmen have to hunt their swags. Like bottle-ohs or ragmen, as you have neither swag nor bag, you must remain a simple wag, and not a swag or bagman." "Oh, dear me," said Bunyip Bluegum. "I never thought of that. What must I do in order to see the world without carrying swags or bags?" The poet thought deeply, put on his eyeglass, and said impressively, oh, he's a very impressive person. Bunyip Bluegum's listening very attentively. "Take my advice, don't carry bags, for bags are just as bad as swags. They're never made to measure. To see the world, your simple trick is but to take a walking stick. Assume an air of pleasure, and tell the people near and far you stroll about because you are a gentleman of leisure." "You have solved the problem," said Bunyip Bluegum, and wringing his friend's hand, he ran straight home, took his uncle's walking stick, and assuming an air of pleasure, set off to see the world. Oh, what a fine character he is. Can you see his walking stick? I love those trousers. He found a great many things to see, such as dandelions and ants, and traction engines and bolting horses, and furniture being removed, besides being kept busy raising his hat and passing the time of day with people on the road, for he was a very well-bred young fellow, polite in his manners, graceful in his attitudes, and able to converse on a great variety of subjects, having read all the best Australian poets. We're going to leave it there today. Connie, yeah, I know, it's exciting, isn't it? She says she can't wait to see what happens to Bunyip Bluegum on his travels. We'll find out tomorrow, Connie. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye from Connie.